The Cosmic Happiness Commission studies how humans find joy in simple daily moments. Part 1 had studied happiness for 200 years. Her crystalline body pulsed with soft blue light as she reviewed the data streams flowing through her consciousness. She understood joy in all its forms across the galaxy. The felt it when they won competitions. The experienced it during deep meditation. The new happiness when they expanded their territories. Every species had their patterns, their logical pathways to contentment. Then the sensors found Earth. "This cannot be correct," said to her research assistant, a floating orb of energy named Pix who communicated through color shifts. "Run the diagnostics again." Pix flickered orange, which meant the diagnostics had already been run 17 times. The data was accurate. Somewhere on the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star, a species was experiencing happiness levels that broke every known model. Pulled up the specific readings. Subject 7,834,219, the humans called him, had just registered a joy spike of 847 units. For context, a felt 850 units when winning a planetary championship. Access the visual data to see what incredible achievement had accomplished. He was sitting in a chair, looking out a window, holding a cup of hot liquid. "There must be something in the cup," said, "a powerful stimulant, a euphoric compound." Pix turned yellow-green, displaying the chemical analysis. The cup contained water, ground plant matter, and trace amounts of fat from another species. Nothing that should produce such profound happiness. Perhaps the window shows something significant. The view was of water falling from the sky. Earth's atmosphere was simply recycling precipitation. Nothing special, nothing that warranted such joy. Felt something she rarely experienced, confusion. She called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Confederation's Happiness Commission. The council chamber materialized in shared virtual space. Crystalline form sat among representatives from 40 species, each embodying their race's particular nature. General of the appeared as a mass of armored scales. Scholar Ash of the floated as pure thought. Ambassador from the Empire stood tall and proud, radiating competitive energy. "Thank you for gathering," began. "We have discovered an anomaly that requires immediate attention. A species designated humanity on planet Earth exhibits happiness patterns that defy all known parameters." She projected the data into the shared space. Thousands of humans, millions of joy spikes, none of them making any sense. Subject 983,445 name. Experienced 790 happiness units. Her activity: throwing small pieces of bread at avian creatures in a recreational area. Feeding behavior, General rumbled. She was storing the birds for later consumption. Negative, she left the area. The birds flew away. No resources were acquired. Confused silence filled the chamber. Subject 1,284,093 name. Registered 812 units of joy. Her activity: watching a recorded visual of a small Earth predator called a cat falling off an elevated surface. A battle, Ambassador asked hopefully. Victory over an enemy. The cat was not her enemy. She did not even know this cat. The cat was unharmed. Yet she experienced such joy that she watched the recording 6 more times, each time producing similar happiness levels. Scholar Ash's thought form pulsed with interest. Most irregular. In our species, happiness requires 3 cycles of meditation to achieve even 400 units. These humans generate it from observing. Nothing. Not nothing, corrected. Something, we simply cannot determine what. She showed them more examples. A human male named David experienced 720 units of happiness because the timing devices on his vehicle's transportation route all displayed green simultaneously. A human female named Sarah felt 680 units of joy because she discovered a form of currency in old clothing. A human child named Tommy registered 890 units because a domesticated canine moved its tail rapidly upon seeing him. "This is impossible," General declared. "Happiness is earned through conquest, achievement, or survival. These humans are doing nothing of value." "Yet they are happy," said quietly. "Extraordinarily happy, more consistently happy than any species we have studied." Ambassador leaned forward. Could this be a threat? A civilization that can generate happiness without achievement might lack the drive for progress. Or worse, if they have discovered some technology that produces joy artificially, they could destabilize galactic society. The council erupted in concerned discussion. Let them talk while she reviewed more data. She watched a human named Jennifer experience 745 units of happiness because she placed her body between clean fabric sheets. She observed a human named Robert feel 698 units of joy because the air temperature was comfortable and a gentle wind movement touched his skin. She saw a human named Lisa register 834 units of happiness because she consumed a piece of fruit that was perfectly. That meant. None of it made sense. Happiness in every species the Commission had studied was a reward system. You accomplished something difficult, your brain rewarded you with joy. This motivated continued achievement. It was efficient. It drove evolution and civilization forward. But humans seemed to generate happiness from thin air, from nothing, from everything, from just existing. "Order," called out, her crystalline form ringing like a bell. The council quieted. "I propose we establish direct contact. We need to understand this phenomenon. If humans have truly found a different path to happiness, the implications for all civilizations are profound." "Direct contact risks contaminating the study," Scholar Ash warned. "The alternative is remaining ignorant of something that could change everything we understand about consciousness," and countered, "I believe the risk is worth it." The council voted, the measure passed. 3 weeks later, stood in a human city called Portland. Her physical form was hidden beneath a holographic disguise that made her appear human. The sensation of having only 2 legs was disturbing, but she adapted. The research facility had been established quickly. To humans, it appeared to be a wellness center studying happiness and life satisfaction. They were offering compensation for interviews, and humans were volunteering eagerly. They seemed enthusiastic about discussing their emotions, Pix observed through the communication device war. Most species require significant incentive to share personal information. Humans may be naturally social, hypothesized. Add this to our observations. The first interview subject arrived. His name was the same she had observed drinking the hot plant liquid by the window. Felt a flutter of excitement, though she quickly suppressed it. Scientific objectivity was essential. "Hello, thank you for coming. Please sit comfortably." Sat in the chair provided, looking relaxed. Noted his happiness baseline was at 340 units, higher than most species average by a significant margin. "We're conducting research on human happiness," said, reading from the script her team had prepared. "Can you tell me about a recent moment when you felt particularly happy?" Smiled, the expression was fascinating. Humans reshaped their faces to communicate emotion. "Oh, that's easy. This morning, actually. I was having my coffee and it was raining and I don't know, I felt really good. Content, you know." "Did not know. Can you elaborate? What about this experience produced happiness?" Thought for a moment. "Well, the coffee was hot. Good coffee, too. I splurged on the fancy beans this month. And I love rain. Not the cold, miserable rain, but the gentle kind that just patters on the window. It's cozy. And I didn't have to go anywhere. I could just sit and enjoy the moment." "But you acquired no resources, achieved no goals, defeated no rivals." Laughed. "No, I guess not. But that's not really the point, is it? Sometimes the best moments are the quiet ones. just being comfortable and safe and having something warm to drink while the world does its thing outside. His crystalline core, hidden beneath the hologram, pulsed with confusion. So the happiness came from doing nothing. From being, corrected gently. From noticing, from being present in a nice moment. Thanked and scheduled 6 more interviews for that day. Each one left her more confused than the last. As the sun set over Portland, stood at the window of the research facility, watching the orange light paint the sky. Pix floated beside her, now manifested as a small hovering orb. This is more complex than we anticipated, admitted. Pix glowed a thoughtful purple. Perhaps humans are simply defective. Perhaps their happiness responses are malfunctioning. No, said slowly. They are not defective, they are different, and we need to understand why. She watched a human couple walk past on the street below. They were holding hands, talking, laughing at something. Their happiness readings were both above 600 units. They were doing nothing but walking together. For the first time in her long career, wondered if the commission had been studying happiness all wrong. Maybe it was not about the destination. Maybe, somehow, humans had learned something the rest of the galaxy had missed. She would find out, she had to. Part 2. The interview room had become Sci's entire world. For 6 weeks, she had spoken with 847 humans. Each conversation added more confusion to her understanding. She had filled 17 data crystals with recordings, notes, and observations. None of it formed a coherent pattern. Today's interview subject was a woman named. Recognized her from the surveillance footage, the one who fed bread to birds. Thank you for coming. I'd like to ask you about the birds in the park. His face brightened immediately. Her happiness baseline jumped from 380 to 520 units just from the memory. Oh, I love feeding the pigeons. I go every Tuesday and Thursday. Why? Asked. This was the question that mattered, the why. Seemed surprised by the question. Well, they're hungry, and they're quite sweet once you get to know them. There's one with a bent foot. I call him Bernard. He always comes right up to me now. But you gain nothing from this interaction. I get to see Bernard, said simply. I get to sit in the sunshine for a bit. The pigeons coo and it's peaceful. Sometimes other people stop to watch and we chat. It's a nice part of my week. But why does it make you happy? Pressed. You expend energy traveling to the park. You spend resources on bread. The birds provide no benefit to you. Was quiet for a moment, thinking. It makes me happy because it's a small kindness. The world can be hard, you know, but for 20 minutes I can make those birds' day a little better, and that makes my day better too. It's connection, I suppose, even if it's just with some pigeons. After left, met with her research team. General had sent a military analyst. Scholar Ash had dispatched 3 of her best consciousness researchers. Ambassador's people had contributed behavioral specialists. They gathered in the conference room, each displaying various forms of confusion. The data makes no sense, the analyst growled. Subject after subject reports happiness from activities with 0 strategic value. One of the researchers pulsed thoughtfully. We interviewed a male named James yesterday. He experienced 763 units of happiness because 6 traffic control devices all showed green in sequence. He called it hitting all the greens. We asked him to explain the significance. He said, and I quote, "It just feels like the universe is on your side for a moment." But the universe is not on his side, the behaviorist said. The traffic device timing is predetermined. His perception is objectively false. Yet the happiness is real, said. That's what we keep missing. The logic doesn't matter to humans, the feeling does. She pulled up more examples on the shared display. A woman named Sarah experienced joy from finding currency in old clothing, money she had placed there herself and forgotten. A man named David felt happiness from the smell of baking bread, even though he did not eat the bread. A teenager named registered massive joy spikes from something called memes images with text that other humans found amusing for reasons that all analysis. There's a pattern here, said. Humans derive happiness from sensory experiences, from small surprises, from social connection even with strangers, and from something they keep calling coziness. Coziness, General's representative rumbled. Yes, we've heard this word 487 times across interviews. It appears to be a comfort-based joy that requires specific conditions: soft textures, warm temperatures, dim lighting, safety, the absence of obligations. The researcher pulsed with interest. A happiness state that requires doing nothing. This is antithetical to progress. Perhaps, said, or perhaps humans have learned to find happiness in rest as well as achievement. They seem to have multiple pathways to joy, while most species have only one or two. Over the following weeks, expanded the study. She interviewed humans of all ages, from all backgrounds, in multiple cities. The patterns remained consistent but never quite made sense. An elderly man named George told her about the happiness he felt watching his play. They're not even doing anything important, he said, just being kids, but it fills my heart up. A young woman named explained her joy in watching cat videos. They're just so silly and unexpected. After a hard day, it's exactly what I need: pure, stupid fun. A middle-aged man named Robert described the happiness of clean sheets. You get into bed, and they're cool and crisp, and you've showered so you're clean too, and it just feels perfect. Like everything is right in the world for those few minutes. Recorded everything. She noted that humans could experience joy from sensory pleasure with no purpose, good food, pleasant sounds, comfortable temperatures, pleasing scents. Anticipation of good things, even small ones, looking forward to weekend rest periods, upcoming meals, planned entertainment. Memory of past joys. Recalling happy moments seemed to reactivate the happiness itself. Others' happiness, even fictional characters or strangers, they called this wholesome content. Efficiency in minor tasks. When small things went smoothly, humans experienced disproportionate pleasure. Recognition and kindness from others. Even brief interactions with strangers could spike happiness significantly. Natural phenomena that served no practical purpose. Sunsets, stars, the sound of rain, the smell of flowers. The list grew longer each day. Began to see something emerging from the chaos. Humans had not discovered a shortcut to happiness. They had discovered that happiness did not need to be earned through great deeds. It could be found in the texture of daily life itself. One afternoon, interviewed a woman named Jennifer who worked at a busy hospital. Your job is stressful, observed. Yet your baseline happiness is 410 units, well above average. How? Jennifer smiled. I don't let the hard stuff be everything. This morning my coffee was perfect, not too hot, not too cool. At lunch, I sat in the courtyard and felt the sun on my face. A patient's daughter brought us cookies to say thank you. My drive home had good music on the radio. Tonight, I'm going to take a long bath and read a book. None of those things fix the hard parts of my job, but they remind me that life is more than just the hard parts. So you create happiness intentionally. I notice it intentionally, Jennifer corrected. The happy moments are always there. Most people just don't pay attention to them. They're waiting for the big things, promotions, vacations, major life events. But the big things are rare. The small things happen every day. That night could not rest. She stood in her temporary quarters reviewing data and felt something shift in her understanding. Humans had evolved in a harsh environment. Their planet experienced extreme temperatures, natural disasters, resource scarcity, disease, and danger. They had no natural armor, no claws, no particular physical advantages. They were vulnerable and mortal. And somehow, in response to that vulnerability, they had developed the ability to extract joy from nearly anything. A warm drink, a kind word, sunlight through leaves. They had weaponized their consciousness against suffering. In a universe that was often difficult and indifferent, they had decided that hardship would not have the final word. Called an emergency council meeting. "I believe I understand," she told the assembled representatives. "Humans do not find happiness illogical. They find survival without happiness illogical. They have evolved to create joy as a defense mechanism against a harsh existence." "That is merely survival optimization," General said, "not unique." "No," insisted. "It is more. Other species use happiness as a reward for completion. Humans use it as fuel for continuation. They find joy in the journey because the destination is always uncertain. They appreciate small moments because they understand that small moments are what life actually contains. They notice beauty and comfort and connection because those things make existence bearable." She projected her final data compilation. "Humans are not more advanced than us. Their technology is primitive. Their society is chaotic. But in one crucial way, they have surpassed every species in the Confederation. They have learned to be happy without needing everything to be perfect. They have learned to find light in ordinary darkness. They have learned that joy does not require justification." The council sat in stunned silence. "What do you propose?" Scholar Ash asked finally. "I propose we learn from them," said. "Before we teach them about the galaxy, we should let them teach us about happiness." Part 3. The Galactic Confederation's official report on humanity took 3 months to compile. Wrote it herself, carefully documenting every finding. When she transmitted it to the Central Archive, she knew it would change everything. Within days, the response began. Scientists from 127 species requested copies of the raw data. Philosophers wanted to debate the implications. Psychologists asked to visit Earth and conduct their own studies. The report had touched something deeper than academic curiosity. It had touched a universal longing. General himself arrived at the Portland Research Facility. His massive armored form barely fit through the doorway, even with modifications. He looked uncomfortable in the human-sized furniture. "I have read your report 3 times," he told. "I do not understand it, but I wish to." "You wish to understand happiness." "I wish to understand this feeling they describe, this contentment that requires no conquest." He shifted his bulk awkwardly. "On my world, we measure success by territory controlled, battles won, resources secured. I have won many battles. I control significant territory. But when I read about this human and his coffee and rain, I felt something strange. I felt envious." Understood, she had felt the same thing. "Would you like to try an experiment?" She took General to a human. The staff had been briefed. They were told was wearing an elaborate costume and was quite shy. They seemed delighted by the explanation. "Order whatever you wish," told him. General studied the menu with the intensity he usually reserved for battle plans. "I do not understand any of these options." The barista, a young human named Emma, smiled. "First time here. I'd recommend starting with a simple latte. It's sweet, smooth, easy to enjoy." Ordered the latte. They sat by the window while rain fell outside, had checked the weather specifically for this. She watched as took his first sip. His sensor readings showed confusion, then surprise, then something that might have been pleasure. "It is warm," he said, "and sweet, but also bitter, complex." "Do you enjoy it?" "I believe I do." He took another sip. "This is strange. I have achieved nothing, yet I feel something pleasant." They sat in silence for a while, watched humans come and go. A mother with 2 small children, an elderly couple holding hands, a group of students laughing over shared devices. Every single one of them registered happiness levels that would seem extraordinary on any other world, and here they were mundane. "They make it look easy," said quietly. "But it is not, is it? They choose this. They choose to notice, to appreciate, to find joy in small things." "Yes," agreed. "That is the true discovery. Happiness is not something that happens to humans. It is something they practice." Word spread through the Confederation faster than anyone expected. Within 6 months, Earth received its first official diplomatic contact, served as the primary ambassador, explaining to human leaders that the galaxy wished to learn from them. The humans were bewildered. "Learn what?" the Secretary General of the United Nations asked. "You have faster-than-light travel. You have technology we can barely imagine. What could we possibly teach you?" "How to be happy," said simply. The answer seemed to stun the room into silence. "You're not joking," the Secretary General said finally. "We never joke. Humor is another human trait we find fascinating, incidentally." Thus began the strangest cultural exchange in galactic history. Earth became a destination for what humans began calling happiness tourism. Aliens came to learn the simple practices humans took for granted. A delegation spent 3 weeks learning about hygge, the Danish concept of cozy contentment. They studied candles, soft blankets, warm drinks, and comfortable spaces. Scholar Ash herself reported experiencing 412 units of happiness while sitting in a room with dim lighting and soft music, doing absolutely nothing productive. "It should feel wrong," she transmitted to her home world, "but it feels perfect." A group of athletes came to learn about enjoying the process rather than just the victory. A retired human marathon runner named taught them about runner's high and the joy of movement itself. "Winning is great," she told them, "but I've run hundreds of races. The wins I can count on one hand. The runs where I felt strong, where I noticed the sunrise, where I felt connected to my body, those happen all the time if you pay attention." They sent military officers to understand rest and recreation. General personally enrolled in a class on meditation and mindfulness. He spent an entire week on a human beach, doing nothing but sitting in sand and watching waves. His reports back home were confused but strangely yearning. "There is no strategic value here," he wrote, "yet I do not wish to leave." Watched it all with growing satisfaction. She had established a permanent research center that was now half embassy, half school. Humans taught classes on gratitude journaling, on appreciating small pleasures, on being present in the moment. Alien students struggled with concepts like stopping to smell the flowers and treating yourself and lazy Sunday mornings. One day came to visit her. He had become something of a celebrity, the first human studied, the man whose coffee and rain had started everything. "I heard you're heading back to your home world soon," he said. "Yes, in 2 weeks. My research here is complete." "Did you find what you were looking for?" Crystalline form pulsed with warm light. "I found more than I expected. I came here to understand human happiness. I leave understanding that happiness is not something to study, it is something to experience." Smiled. "That sounds like a very human conclusion. Perhaps I have been here too long. Or perhaps not long enough." Gestured to the window where the sun was setting over the city. "One last Portland sunset before you go. Pretty great, right?" Looked at the orange and pink sky. By all objective measures, it was simply light refracting through atmospheric particles. No functional purpose, no inherent meaning, just photons hitting photoreceptors. And yet, "Yes," she said, "pretty great." On her final day on Earth, stood in the same where she had brought General. She ordered a latte, she had learned to enjoy them, and sat by the window. Rain was falling again. She had timed her visit deliberately. The warm cup in her hands felt pleasant. The sound of rain on glass was soothing. The smelled like coffee and baked goods. Humans moved around her, each one caught in their own small moment of living. A barista wiped down tables and hummed to herself. An old man read a newspaper with obvious enjoyment. A young couple shared a pastry, laughing about something private. Happiness reading was 634 units, higher than she had ever experienced in her 200 years of existence. And she was doing nothing, just sitting, just being, just noticing. She understood now. This was what humans had learned and what they were teaching the galaxy. Happiness was not the grand achievement at the end of the road. It was the coffee in your hands, the rain on the window, the safety of a warm space, the presence of life happening all around you. It was choosing to notice, choosing to appreciate, choosing to let small, simple, ordinary things be enough. Her ship would leave in 3 hours. She would return to a galaxy that was now officially fascinated by humanity. She would write more papers, give more lectures, help other species learn what humans knew instinctively. But right now, in this moment, she just sat with her coffee and watched the rain. A human woman sat down at the next table. She was alone, She pulled out a book and began to read, occasionally sipping her own drink. She looked content, happy, not because anything amazing was happening, but because nothing terrible was happening either, and sometimes that was enough. The woman glanced up and caught looking. She smiled, that peculiar human expression that meant warmth and friendliness. Smiled back, she had been practicing. The woman returned to her book, returned to her coffee. The rain continued to fall, the hummed with quiet life. And in that simple, ordinary, unremarkable moment, felt something she would carry with her across the stars. Not data, not analysis, not scientific understanding. Just happiness, pure, uncomplicated, perfectly sufficient happiness. She took another sip of her latte and thought, the humans are right, this is enough, this is more than enough, this is everything.